Well, one of those opposed to that ban is Dr. Helen Webberley, who also happens to be one of the most controversial figures in this field. Through her online clinic, Gender GP, she prescribed puberty blockers to children as young as 11 and testosterone to a 15-year-old without parental consent. And her actions led to her being struck off the UK medical register. Yet, despite this controversy, Dr. Webberley insists that she is on the right side of history. And I'm delighted to say I'm joined now in the studio by the founder of Gender GP, Dr. Helen Webberley. Dr. Webberley, thank you very much for coming to GB News today.
Thank you.
A highly emotive topic. Could we start by letting our viewers and listeners understand the types of patients you deal with and therefore why you believe puberty blockers is the right thing for them?
If I may just correct you there, I wasn't struck off the medical register for those patients' treatment. That's incorrect, so I just wanted to clear that up. Actually, we went through the High Court this time last year, and that was 2 years ago, and that was overturned. So,
my bad.
So yeah, no, I just wanted to clear that up. Puberty blockers, yeah. I mean, there's a chemical in the brain which stops your ovaries and testicles from producing the sex hormones. And that's with young children, before they start puberty, that chemical stops you going into puberty too early. And so what we've done is we've replicated that, and that's what a puberty blocker is. So it stops your ovaries and testicles from producing hormones. Now, if you're a transgender child, and a parent of a transgender child, your child who's just about to go into puberty is going to go into the puberty that is really distressing. So if you are a transgender girl, you are just about to start a boy puberty. And that means even though you may be fully socially transitioned, you may be living as a girl, you may be seen as a girl, you're just about to start a boy puberty. And that means that your voice will drop, your voice will break, your Adam's apple will grow, your hair will become, your hair on your chin.
The natural process of becoming a young adult.
Yes, and so that transgender girl will end up looking like a boy. And that's really distressing. And the same for transgender boys. So they will go through a girl puberty, if you like. Their breasts will develop, their hips, their shape, they won't grow as tall as the other boys in the class. And these pubertal changes for transgender children are really distressing. Okay. Distressing for the kids and distressing for the parents and families who are looking after them.
That is, of course, their natural physiology. Their chromosomal bodies are male and female, so their biological predestiny is being enacted. Could I ask you, are children capable of making decisions like this?
I think not until you've actually met as many families as I have met. And, you know, 10 years ago, I was asking myself exact same questions because I hadn't met enough. I have met so many families and children now who are transgender.
But some change their minds and some have great regrets later on.
If you look at the examination of regret, why do they regret it? It's multifactorial, and mostly because our society at the moment is not a welcoming place for trans people. So a lot of the regret that we talk about is actually because, do you know what, it's sometimes just easier to pretend or live a cisgender life, cisgender being the opposite of transgender.
What about the side effects of the drugs? Well documented. They can have impair brain development. They can impair bone development to the point actually where many governments around the world have recommended that they be banned. There have been mental health implications. Sometimes when the drugs are taken, the psychological state of the children can worsen. Is there not firm evidence? I mean, you know, the UK, Sweden, Finland, Norway, France, all these countries have taken a position that the best thing to do actually is sit this one out and let children perhaps become normal gay people. And they might not need to go through this in the first place. What's your position on that?
Well, they're not gay people. You know, being gay and being transgender is very different.
But many people who believe they're transgender have changed their mind and go on to become perfectly healthy gay people. Am I wrong?
Yes, you're wrong. The thing is, this is a very natural drug. You say well-documented side effects. They're not well-documented. And if you have a look at the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, 2022, 120 world experts came together and they reviewed all of the medical evidence, all of the research, all of the best practice everything. And their resounding conclusion was that puberty blockers are the right thing to do for a transgender child going through a puberty that is distressing for them.
The puberty blockers have been described as a pause button, that 96% plus of children who take them go on to have cross-sex hormones. That effectively locks them into a medicalised trans pathway. So this when you start taking puberty blockers, you begin a pathway to irreversible change. This could affect people's ability to have children, to ever go back. I'll put it to you again. Is a child really capable of making a life-changing decision at that age as young as 11?
Children sometimes have to make life-changing decisions, and they are very capable of doing that at that age. They are locked into that process because the diagnosis was right. They were transgender, which means the first stage is puberty blockers, the second stage is gender-affirming hormones. So they're not locked in because they had puberty blockers. They're locked in because the diagnosis, if you like, was right. They were on the right pathway for them.
Donald Trump has banned anything like this in his first day. He said this is tantamount to irreversible damage being inflicted upon children. What would you respond to that?
I think President Trump is misinformed. And like so many world leaders, politicians, people out there, the education and information is not available to them. We haven't got enough expertise. And these decisions should not be being made in Parliament. They should be being made by medics who have the right qualifications and expertise in this field.
But should those decisions be made in private, secretly, without their own parents even knowing?
There are many instances where young people are able to give their own consent to medical intervention.
11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds?
That's what,
an 11-year-old you think is capable of consent to change their body forever?
Well, you see, when you say it emotively like that...
That's the reality, isn't it?
Well, an 11-year-old going to the doctor saying, my parents aren't supporting me, but... And to be fair, this is completely not fictitious... I don't know what the word is, but majority of children have their parents' consent. An 11-year-old in this current stage would never get to the doctor on their own. But an 11-year-old can give their own consent to medical intervention. Yes, they can.
OK, fascinating topic. And thank you very much for joining us in the studio today, Dr. Helen Webberley.
Thank you.